The fish sampling technique you see demonstrated here is known as Fyke nets. So here we're actually deploying a miniature Fyke net because this is a shallower wetland where we use a smaller net. We are staking one end of the net on shore and then pulling the net out into the deeper end of the basin. The net is set perpendicular to shore with the leader net extending out from the shore and the bag end of the net out in the deeper end of the basin. So as we paddle away from shore, the net is stretching out until it is completely extended. This leading edge of the net will divert fish into the trap. The trap is made of a cage, which is a series of metal frames that help hold its shape. So first is a rectangular frame that forms the entrance to the trap, and then there are 3 circular frames further along near the bag end or the opposite end of the trap. You'll notice that there are floating buoys on the top edge of the leader net that keeps the surface of the net at the water surface. And then at the bottom, there's a rope extending that has weights on it to keep it extended throughout the entire water column. When fish encounter the leader net, it's like running into a wall, so they have to turn and swim along it, and that leads them right into the mouth of the trap. When they enter the trap through the square frame, they then enter the circular frames. So as fish swim through the circular frame toward the bag end, they pass through funnel-shaped pieces of netting, larger where they enter it, small where they exit it. And once they pass through the funnel, they have a hard time finding this small exit hole to get back out. The bag end, also known as the cod end, has an opening that gets tied off when the net is set. And when you retrieve the net, you open the end, and that is where you empty the contents of the net. So now that the net has been set overnight for about 24 hours, we're going to retrieve the net, and that requires us to go out to the end of it, pull up the anchor, and slowly retrieve the bag end of the net into the boat. And then, of course, we pull in all the hoops and the frame that make up the trap end of the net. And now that we've retrieved the net, we have placed the bag end in a bucket, and we are opening up the bag end of the net. The next step is shaking out the fish. We pick up the net frames and shake each one successively to work fish from the entrance end to the bag end. After that, we reach in and untie the bag end and finally shake whatever is in the net into the bucket. Here's the bucket that contains all of the organisms that were caught in the 24-hour set. In addition to lots of fish, we also caught some turtles, which are not the focus of this study, so we are releasing the turtles back into the wetland from where they came.
Good luck, turtles!
The final step is working through the fish catch. The first thing we do is sort the species into separate buckets, and then we weigh each species as a group using spring scales.
What else are you finding in there?
Just days.
Just days?
Fathead so far, and then obviously the bullhead too. Okay. Other than that, looks like it's probably just gonna be those 3 so far. Dace.
In this wetland, in addition to finding dace, we found fathead minnows and brown bullhead, which are the larger fish swimming around in the blue bucket. Here we are demonstrating a different type of fish sampling technique known as gill netting. So a gill net is different than a trap net like a Fyke net in that it actually catches the fish right in the net. So a gill net is set and a fish will swim up to it, and if it is the right size for the mesh, it will basically swim into the net and not be able to extract itself. If it's too small, it will be able to swim through the openings in the net, and if it's too large, it may just rip through the net and swim away. So often gill nets are set with different sizes of mesh to catch different sizes of fish, particularly when we're interested in understanding the different species that are living in a lake or pond, and also the different size classes. So in this video, we are extending the net out into the water from one end to the other. It is anchored on one side, and floats run along the top end of the net all the way until the other end where it is released. Similar to when we set the Fyke net, we will leave the gill net in the water overnight, usually for a 24-hour period, and then go back and collect it and measure and identify all of the fish that were caught in the net. One big difference between a Fyke net and a gill net is that the gill net does cause mortality of the fish, whereas the Fyke net sometimes some fish may die, but others may survive.